Hey y'all. Okay. I wasn't even gonna look at this because I didn't do the third season, and I actually like to show the first two seasons, despite how messy I thought some of the stuff was. Love is Blind, season 4, episode. Let me tell you something. I can already tell I would be into this. The only reason why I decided to even look at this was because my cousin was like, "No, you gotta take a look at it," and then my homegirl had sent me a text today, asked me if I had watched it. And I was like, "No." Oh my gosh. Okay, so let me just start off with who I like the most, or who I did like the most in this episode. Brett and Tiffany. That Brett has had a lot of trauma. Tiffany was like feeling him, and they just seem so sweet together. I was like, you know what? This is gonna be that one couple that it's very hard for me to believe, other than that Lauren and the other guy on the first season, that people one can fall in love 6 days later, get married with all these cameras, and this stuff actually work. Okay. But I was like rooting for them. And he just had like a lot of trauma stories or whatever. And anyway, he has this good job working with Nike, so on and so forth. And she's a cybersecurity director. I think that's what she does, something like that. But anyway, Tiffany was just like, I feel like I'm falling in love with you. And he was like, wow, that's a word I've never heard or never really used, I guess, in a romantic sense. And they get to it by the end of the episode. He's like, well, hello. He's giving all his feelings after she tells him she done fell asleep. He was like, hello. Like he got so fucking bothered. That shit was probably like 4 minutes. I don't give a shit what they edited. So he gets his coat, walks out, and he walks in, and I forget that guy. I want to call him Charlie, but I don't think that's his name. The little light skinned black guy was like had this little thing like to celebrate. He was like, "Oh, what's going on?" He said, "Uh oh, is that a happy walk or mad walk?" Somebody said that's a mad walk. He was like, literally, it starts with "I'm falling in love with you," so on and so forth, and then it just goes basically nothing, just nothing, radio silence. I'm done. I said, Brett, I was so ready to cheer you on, bruh. I was so ready to hype you up. I was so ready to be like, you and Tiffany belong together, but I don't like how irritable you got and didn't say, you know what, maybe we'll talk tomorrow, forget it. I really don't feel like talking to anybody. But when you were like, I'm done, because you got to hurt somebody before they hurt you, baby, you got some more healing to do. I was rooting for you, Brett. I really wanted to root for you. All right. Kwame. Baby, Kwame. Kwame was like, well, it's really hard to meet people. He was a professional soccer player. I don't know this for a fact, but he definitely looks Nigerian, and he's given Nigerian teas. Like born in America, but like by Nigerian parents. And an emphasis on soccer professionally. A lot of American blacks, just in America, that's not like a big sport, but it's the most popular sport across the world. Anyway, he's really in to Micah, and I think the other girl's name is Chelsea, the other white girl. They're both white girls, and he was like, well, the real hard part about dating is when you meet people and then people are kind of like, well, you're black, and I was like, first of all, when he said that, I said that's a self-hating statement. Kwame, Kwame, I'm not gonna even go in on you that hard because when you ugly, I don't want you, and I'm pretty sure. And we can say I usually don't like to call people ugly. No, I'm lying. I call people ugly when it's necessary, like Giselle, ugly. Kwame, okay, sorry, fuck it. Okay, so he is ugly as hell, and he's dating his worker Micah. Let me just say this about Micah. And I typically know that as a male name, from the Bible, but whatever. Because my name is biblical, Salah. But anyway, Mike, let me give this to you, baby. You were serving looks every time you were on the camera. Let me tell you something. If nothing else comes out of this show, and I'm not even here for this kind of stuff, but you can definitely be a social media influencer. Because let me tell you something. The earrings was on point. The headband was on point. Your hair was on point. The colors you were serving in confessionals to when you was on that couch. Let me tell you something. You all right with me? Because I was like, oh, I want that. Oh, I want to wear that. Where'd she get that from? So Micah, yes. Okay, so Kwame is after two chicks, Chelsea and Micah, and Chelsea comes back and she's feeling like really good about her and Kwame's relationship. First of all, y'all catch back to both those white girls when he said his name was Kwame, they were like, oh. nice or cool, something like that. And I was like, yeah, I've had white people react like that to my name. Some people don't read their Bible. Anyway, but nevertheless, Kwame's not a biblical name, but it just gave me that tease. Anyway, so Kwame comes in there and he's talking to Paul. Paul is this goofy white guy from New Orleans. I don't even understand what the attraction is. Oh, I forgot. Yeah, they can't see him. Okay. So anyway, Kwame is like, yeah, I'm into Micah. He's talking to the guys about it. That's always dangerous. This whole thing. And Chelsea was actually really happy with Kwame, the other girl, the other blonde haired girl. And Micah overheard it and she gets in the pause and she's like telling Kwame, well, Chelsea was really happy, this, that, and the other. Do you want this? And he was like, you know what? Honestly, she affirms me. She makes you feel, she says, so basically, she makes you feel good by telling you things you want to hear, essentially. Now, let me tell you something. That's a red flag with a man for me because men don't process emotions the way women do. And so a man who constantly needs that kind of affirmation, it's not the same thing as when like women like, yeah, I need you to say you care about me. I need you to do this. They're different. I don't know. It's a little too needy for me. For me. So he decides in the pod, well, he goes, well, will you be with me? Like, will you marry me? And she was like, well, does Chelsea know it's over? Chelsea or Amber, something like that. Chelsea know it's over. And she was like, you need to make that clear. So she comes back out the pod. And Kwame was like, okay. Right? Because he wants he wants that blonde haired woman, right? He don't have to know she's blonde. He asked her enough. Anyway, so basically, Micah goes back and tells the girl that has Russian immigrant parents, and she's talking to her about it. And she was like, he's mad because I don't affirm him. I don't tell him how I feel all the time and have this, that, and the other. Like, I'm not going to do that for you. Let her do that for you. I was like, see? I said, see? Look, Kwame, but you know what? You going to learn. You going to learn. And I knew then when Micah did that, honestly, her analysis was on point. She read him right. But my thing with Micah is I can tell Micah's goal is to simply win at the show. And by win at the show, I mean make it through the reality process of this show to be seen on TV. And that's Kwame's goal too. And we can argue that most of them are, but I do actually think some people come on here because they really think this might work. And because they're not celebrities, I can actually give some people benefit of the doubt. But sign up for reality TV, you know what it is. So yeah, so he proposes to her and he's supposed to, and then he comes back in there and he's telling Paul, the other white guy who's from New Orleans and stuff. And he was also dating Amber. Amber has been married twice. She's 33. That seems a little strange, but it's infidelity, whatever. People deserve different chances. And she's still young. And Paul, I'm just like, when they see what the fuck this goof troop motherfucker looks like, y'all gonna be like, whew. Anyway, so Paul hears Kwame talk about how close him and Micah are, this, that, and the other. And he was like, I just don't want, just a feeling that I would lose her. I went in there. So basically, him and Micah talking to pods, and Micah was like, look, are you gonna cut it off with Amber? And he was like, yeah, you want to do this thing? So basically, they're engaged. And the thing about Micah that I didn't like, Micah, you and that girl, that Russian girl, that was real catty. When Amber came back in and she was happy and she was talking about Mardi Gras, and they actually seemed like they liked each other. You were like, yeah, I can definitely see her doing Mardi Gras with him. I could definitely see her doing that. And I'm thinking to myself, you don't seem like you like either one of these guys. You're just trying to figure out how you can win like this show. Kwame, you fucked up when you tried to propose like that and tried to play Chelsea. Because Chelsea wanted to, you could tell she wants a relationship. Now, once they found out what you look like, I would just turn I guess my black ass don't count because he don't want me. But I would have just turned back around and be like, open them doors. No, thank you. This show is not going to work out. Yeah, so we had that mess. And then, is it one more guy? Oh, yeah. And I'm going to tell you, I actually teared up. This touched me. The guy, I think his name is Chris, the guy that's a criminal defense attorney or whatever. And he's like 28, and he kept, when people were going to pods, he kept saying, like, oh, I'm a stripper, this and the other. And they were like, what? Why would you do this? And when he opened up and told the Russian girl, he was like, yeah, she was like, well, I've heard a lot of stuff. You're telling people. And he was like, yeah, I guess I need to stop playing around. I'm a criminal defense attorney, whatever. And she was like, okay. He was like, but I guess I have to be vulnerable for this process. And when he told the story about how his mother was a stripper, and he wasn't telling it like, oh, I'm so ashamed and embarrassed of my mother. He was like, my mother did that to take care of me. And he was like, and she did that. I remember being in the drive-thru line, my mother not even being able to pay for food. And anybody who has had to go without in life, you know what that feels like. The humiliation, the pain, the love you have for the parent that wants to do for you that can't. And when I tell you, I felt for him in that moment, and when I saw him tear up in the confessional and said, well, I have dated other people and their families judged me because of where I came from. And his mother had passed, and it appears that he's the only child. And he was like, I just started working, to kind of get away from it. And I'm thinking to myself, sometimes the blessing is in a reflection. Like, look how far you've come. But he was working hard to really not deal with the trauma. And I'm one of those people. Just work to not deal with the pain. Just work, just read. Just come up with something new and create and, put all your energy in these kids so you don't have to think about certain things. And this guy will probably never see this video, but Chris, I thank you for sharing that. You want to know why? Because there's somebody who needs to know not to be ashamed of the mother that loves them, and that life sometimes just hands us really fucked up circumstances. And even if you don't find who you're looking for on this show, I hope that you can find the peace that you need and that you deserve. So this looks like it's going to be a good season, y'all. But anyway, so I just want to give my reactions today. Y'all have a good night. Talk to y'all soon. Bye.